I'm building an E-compo because I want something that I can fit into my car and use as a little like commuter, and that would be awesome. And Honda already made one, but I don't even have that much money, and I'm poor as hell, and I hate it. So I'm gonna do it myself. Last video, we built the rear wheel, the motor powering that wheel, and the chain that links them together, and weld them all to our main frame. And so, today, we'll be focusing on steering and electronics. At the end, we will hopefully have this entire project up and running. So let's start with the steering. Now, you may be wondering what my plan to steer this is, and I'm pretty much ripping off the idea of whoever made scooters. See, we have a giant box, and it has a rear wheel, and it's gonna have a front wheel. So I'm thinking, since it has two wheels touching the ground, the easiest way to steer this would probably just be one big bar like this, with a handle like here, and then mount that like that with a swivel point right here. So let's get that swivel point. Hello, green bike. You know what time it is. Now, after quite a bit of angle grinding, we have this. This is the steering part of a bicycle. You can twist one side and the other side doesn't twist, which is perfect for our little spinny bit right here. Now, in order to get this large T that we're going to construct, I am going to use this, as it is already a giant T. As it is already a giant T that has been pre-made by Razor for this purpose. Well, it was made for one of their scooters, but close enough. So, we're going to take this, and hopefully we can just, fortunately, the T already perfectly fits the other steel pipes we've been using. We gotta get an intermediary because this pipe is too big to fit in that pipe. So we're gonna take this pipe, we're gonna cut that pipe, and then we're gonna weld those two together, and then it'll fit in. You guessed it, we have a problem. As you saw a few seconds ago, this guy was getting cut with no sparks, which means it's made of aluminum, which we can't weld to our T as I had originally hoped to do. So we're going to pivot our design a bit. Instead of having this piece and all these pieces fit together, we are going to go a little bit more of a roundabout way. We are going to take a rectangular piece at the bottom of the steering, install a tube there, and then weld that as a pipe that goes up into our T. And hopefully that will be simpler, more effective, and I won't have to figure out how to weld aluminum to steel. But before we get too ahead of ourselves on the upper steering portion, let's get the wheel mounted and all that first. Alrighty, look at that. Now we need to connect the steering tube and the fork together. Go forward, Minion! I'm not gonna lie, this thing's pretty sick. And it's looking pretty good. We have now completed this entire section right here. That's all done. We've got a steering tube connected to a fake fork connected to a wheel that we can connect to the frame. All we need to do is weld a little bar that goes up here and here, and then we can mount the pipes right here. Shazam! Hey, look at that. The spinny on it and the steering is on. That should be perfect. I also printed some spacers for the front wheel. And so now it's just a matter of taking this spacer and look at that. Perfect. Now we just have to weld a connector to the box. Ta-da! Huzzah! Fun AJL fact, I rarely learn from my mistakes. Look at that, the lid can still come off. Ooh. Damn. So, after making up for all those cigarettes I haven't smoked, I got back to welding. I command thee, weld! Putting everything together, I prepared it for a test roll. I filled the wheels with air, etc., and I got it ready to roll it downhill. Now that is some steering that I can entrust my life to. Wish me luck. It's working. It's really working. Oh boy. Great success. Great grand success. Splendid success. Now that I'm finally out of welding and cutting purgatory, I can erase all of this because now it's time to focus on electronics. So starting off, we have the battery. We all know what a battery is. It stores the power. It's what's going to use to run the motor and everything else. Following the battery, we have the electronic speed controller. It takes the battery's power in, does a bunch of random magic stuff to it and whatever, and makes it into three-phase power, which is what our motor uses. So the process goes from the battery to the controller to the motor. However, the ESC needs some extra stuff, such as this screen it comes with, which displays our speed, how much power we're using, odometry, and it has our on and off switch. And finally, the ESC also has a throttle so that we can actually control the motor. And this is our entire electrical system. This is it. This is all we need to do to get this thing up and running. We're just gonna put the ESC like right here. Pretty good. Okay, so I lost the mount for the screen, so it can't you can't use the screws. But I have a backup plan, and it works, I guess. Yeah. Next, I put on a throttle. It was really easy. It just kind of has, it slides onto the handle. It's a little screw. What is this B-roll footage? What the fuck? Throttle is on. All right, so I know it's looking a little different from when we last saw it, but all I really did was screw this in here, and then this is all just a bunch of excess wire that's way too long because it's built for a bicycle. So I looped it around, and then it went into the box with the battery, and then I taped everything down. And that's pretty much all that's happened. However, I made the critical mistake of thinking things were ever going to be that easy. And a quick demo to my friend quickly showed me the error of my ways.
Oh my god.
There's a method to my madness.
I see. Wait, why do you need spacers?
Because it's hitting here. Stop. Do you see that? If you observe the wire going between our motor and box, you'll see that it's a lot more taut than before. This is why. See, I just conducted that test which you saw, in which I had forgotten to tighten down the nuts connecting the axle to the motor. However, this led to the axle spinning around itself and not the motor spinning, which wound the cable really tight.
Oh, why is it doing that? Oh, why is it going backwards?
It also, somehow, made the motor spin backwards. That's a great question. How the fuck is it going backwards?
Is it? I don't think the light's gonna just start working.
Oh, this sprocket's lost it.
The sprocket lost what?
It lost those little notches that mount the wheel to the sprocket, thus keeping them securely anchored together. Yeah, so the sprocket situation looks a little something like this. But, as I always tell myself, there is nothing you can't fix with a crappy Harbor Freight welder. And, with that in mind, let's take a look at the damage to the sprocket sector. Alrighty, and here we go. That is perfectly smooth, which it shouldn't be. Fortunately, the sprocket is in mint condition and we can continue to use it without problems. So this here is the new model that we're going to be using instead of this thing. So you'll notice we have these slots right here. The reason we have the slots is this steel is to fit in these slots. And so, hopefully that'll dissipate the energy that previously caused the whole thing to shear once I have it all welded up. So I've got it here in a jig sort of. Imagine without the plastic, it's going to fit into these slots like right here. I've welded it. Let me be honest, the plastic was not very happy about being welded to. Ta-da! Look at that. Yeah, so the new sprocket took a lot of percussive force to get in there. I had to hammer it for quite some time, but eventually kind of got close enough, so I just kind of installed the cap and called it good enough. After that, I created a little notch, which I used to reinforce the axle mount, because that was what was the weak point that caused the axle to spin out on itself. So we've solved that problem now, no more of it. Okay, so here's the deal. I've welded the notch up. It's this little 1/4 steel bar you can see right there in the middle. Ignore the atrocity of washers and other things. And hopefully now it actually feels really steady, so we're gonna give it a test ride once again. Fourth time's the charm. I'm gonna be honest, the only difference from take 3 is that I re-gambled the wires and I think the motor likes me better now. Here we go. Up the hill. Oh my god, it's working. Holy shit. Okay, we lost traction everywhere. A D-chain. Oh, fuck. Alright, my phone may be broken, but the show must go on. We are on the cusp of greatness. This does run now, and the whole thing can go forward. There's only two things that I need to solve, and I'll try and keep it quick. One, something about this controller means that this motor wants to spin this way constantly. So if I power it on, and then power it off, and then on again, half the time, it just wants to go backwards, which is really bad. So, why doesn't it stop? Anyway, so we're going to replace this controller with a fancier one. The Chinese silver box of glory has failed me. The other issue is that the chain, despite my ingenious solution of a bicycle derailleur, is failing a lot, like almost every single time within seconds of me beginning to ride, which makes this not very viable. So we're going to have a revisit to this chain situation. I believe I will make probably 3D print. No, I won't. Instead, here's what I'm gonna do. Number one, I'm gonna re-weld the chain tensioner made of a bicycle derailleur. It works really well. It just needs to be not at like an angle and bad. If I do it properly, it should work just fine. Number two, I'm doing the controller off screen. I'm sorry, but it's super boring. It's just me cutting wires for like 3 million years and then resoldering them. It was not that engaging. Here's a cool picture of me dialing it with my computer, and that's about all there was to see. Number three, brakes. We need brakes. Whenever you go, you have to stop going. And that's kind of important for my safety and survival. So we need brakes, just like in general. Brakes necessary. I'm gonna make some brakes. You're gonna see the brakes. So, I know I've been skipping over the brakes a little bit, but basically we have the mount back there. It's just a modified version of the mount for the sprocket with some holes in it. And then we have the disc mounted and all that. And so I've also constructed that little mount right there that you can see. And so this mount is just some steel with nuts welded to it. But the plan is we're gonna connect these two up and then we'll have perfectly functional brakes for this, which is actually kind of awesome. So I've welded it up off camera. It was really annoying to weld, so I didn't record it. But you can see it can freely spin around here, which I'm really happy with. And then right here is the lever. I push that, it can't move at all anymore. So just take these two, blam that together like that. This is actually really coming together now. We've re-welded on the fork so it's wide again, it's all good. We need to put the brake back on here, put the steering wheel back on there, plug everything in, and I also have some stuff to manage these wires a little better, and we can finally give it the test ride that it properly deserves. This thing rocks. Now, it's all good. It's actually, there's literally no more problems. It runs pretty much no de-chaining. It's a little low on the torque end, but what can you do? I mean, I could gear it better, but I'm not gonna. The electronics are all neatly in this junction box now. I installed a voltmeter to tell me how much of the battery is left. And I mean, look at this thing. Like, I can just go around. Now, is it perfect? No, far from it. It's very improvised. I didn't really plan ahead when I was making it. I just kind of kept putting patches on it till it all worked. But I'm very happy with it. And honestly, that's where I'm gonna leave this off. This is a functioning mini E-compo, I guess you could say. It's like a prototype of one, really. But I'm really happy with it, and I hope you enjoyed watching.